Well, it's August 23rd. It's a lovely day, and it's that time of year for hedge cutting, particularly these big beech hedges out the front. But the problem with the hedge cutting is getting rid of all the cuttings themselves, all the debris. And usually I've had to cart it up the garden and have a bonfire. So what I've done is I've bought myself a shredder, and I'm just going to make a little video to see how this thing works and how it copes with all these beech trimmings. So that's the thing I've decided on. Not too small, but not a massive thing, and easy to wheel about. And came in a box, and you obviously have to fit the wheels and the little chassis bit, but that wasn't a difficult problem. And that's what it is. It's a Bosch ATX Rapid 2200. That's it. Now many of these small shredders come with their own container for catching the bits, but this one doesn't. So you need to put something underneath there to catch all the shredded bits. So I bought one of these. It's just a simple little thing like these for shoving the bits in. So just pushing the bits in the opening at the top there. Now, there's two kinds of these shredders. One has a rotating blade, and the other type has sort of rollers that crush the material. And this one has a rotating blade. You know, it's just like a lawnmower, really. Anyway, let's just go and have a look at these hedges and see what it's going to have to cope with. So these are hedges around the front of the house, and that's the job of the day, is to cut these and shred them. Anyway, let's just get on with it. That's it cut, the first bit. And we have all this lot here to get rid of. I think it's going to take quite a long time with this shredder, but anyway, we'll give it a go and see how it works. So this is the on-off switch. And the little numbers there, 0, 1, 2. So we'll start it, turn it to 2, and then move it back to 1. If you move it to 2 and just hold it there, it'll stop. And you have to go back to 0 and start again. Anyway, it's just demonstrate this stop, emergency stop. Yeah, it's quite stiff to push. Well, there's nothing coming out the bottom and the machine appears to be blocked. We're putting too much in at a time. Anyway, the question arises then, how do you unblock the blooming thing? Well, let's disconnect the power and have a look up that chute and see if we can see where this blockage is. You see a lot of debris there. Well, everything was going so well. There's something jammed in here. I can't free it, so I'm going to have a look at the brush to see how we get into this blade. So if you get a blockage in the machine, in other words you're shoving stuff in the top and nothing's coming out the bottom, the way to unblock it is to obviously disconnect the plug. That's most important. And then you undo this knob here, a hand turn knob. And the whole of the top of the machine swivels forward. And you just lift it off. And there's the mechanism. This thing whirs round. There's the edge of the blade. Everything goes through that gap and down this chute. So if this all gets blocked down here, you can quite simply take the front off and unblock it. That's quite easy, that's very good. Well, that wasn't too difficult. Obviously shoving too much at a time. But anyway, it's unblocked now, it didn't take long, a couple of minutes. Let's continue with the job. Well, so far so good. Oh, well, that's pleasing. One thing you have to be careful of is not to just carry on shredding away without keeping an eye on this container, because it piles up at the back and it will eventually block the chute, which is, I suspect, what happened with me in that blockage. Well, the edge is cut, thank goodness. It's taken a long time, and all the debris has been put through that shredder. And we've got 2.5 bags of it. Normally you get enough stuff to make a bonfire. Anyway, that's what it looks like. Alright to me. There's been lots of comments about the hardness of the blade on the machine. So let's just have a look at it and see what's happened to it during the shredding of these hedge cuttings. need a, I think this comes with it. See if we can get the blade off. Just need to jam something in there so the whole thing doesn't turn around. And then see if I can slacken that bolt off there. So that's the nut off and the washer. Don't lose them. Does this just slide out? Oh, it does. So there's the blade. Let's have a look at these edges. That's the one of the used edges. That doesn't look too bad. This is the edge which hasn't been used. So just comparing the two. But, and of course you can grind those up easily yourself if they get blunt. Put a sharp edge on them. Anyway, let's put it back in and turn the blade around. So we're using the new blades, or the new edges of the blade, these bits. And that's a spare blade, should I ever need it. Yeah, quite expensive. Well, I've got some ivy cuttings here. Now these are a bit more substantial than the beech hedge, but the stems are quite soft. So it'll be interesting to see whether it will cope with these, because some of these are quite thick. You know, that's quite a substantial thing for the average garden shredder. But I've just changed the blade over, so the blade is quite sharp, and obviously just push these things through gently and see if it will cope with them. Save this bit till last. This will be the biggest challenge yet, this big lump of ivy here. Let's see if it will cope with it. Well, I think it made a pretty good job of that. It definitely helps when the blade's nice and sharp. But as I say, you can take the blade off and you can turn it round, and if you've used both sides, if you haven't got a spare blade, you can sharpen up the blade easily enough. It's no different to sharpening a blade on a lawnmower. So that's very pleasing. So the other end of the spectrum, these are just some dead flower heads and stems, which I'll shush through, and hopefully it'll cope with them pretty well as well. Well, I've just shoved some very soft yew hedge trimmings through it, and it seems to have dealt with them very well. So, I've done enough hedge clippings to fill 6 of these bags. Which I think is a fair old challenge, from very soft yew wood to average beech and quite thick ivy, and a few flower stems and bits. So yes, I think we've put it through its paces. Well, I've just done the clippings from this hawthorn hedge all the way up to that fence up there, and it's worked an absolute treat. It's taken no time at all. The whole lot has been reduced to that. Yeah, it seems to be cut up really well. Well, you couldn't ask for anything more than that. That's really pleasing. Anyway, continue on with the inside of the hedge. This is the brochure you get with it, a really thick thing. But most of it is in other languages. And it's mainly about health and safety. There's a lot of it. And there's a bit of technical data and noise and vibration information. And in really small print there's this little bit about overload protection. When it gets blocked and starts overheating, it will cut out. Well, it begins to smell a bit before then, as I noticed the other day. There's a troubleshooting bit. And and at the back there are various diagrams. That's about how you assemble the thing. And there's a little bit about blade replacement. How to start it, how to feed the stuff in. And the thing about this one is, unlike a number of shredders, it doesn't pull it in. You have to shove the stuff in. This is about a diagram about how you replace the blade. Or you can in fact turn the blade over. I suspect if it gets blunt you can sharpen it, but it doesn't say anything about that here. It explains how you can turn the blade over. That's how you get access to the blade. And it does have an emergency stop if it comes to that. So what do I make of it? Well, I'm really pleased with it, to be quite honest. It's performed better than I thought it would, having read some of the reviews on the internet. Obviously, like all machinery, you can't expect machinery to perform if the blades are blunt. So, you know, when you've done a first stretch, have a look at the blade. I mean, it's dead easy to do. Just take the front off without one knob, and if it's blunt, then turn the blade over if you've got still got two cutting edges on it. But if you haven't, you just take it off and grind it up so it's nice and sharp again, and put it back in. It takes minutes. Again, if you get blockages in it, undo that big knob, take the front off, and and just poke it all away with a stick or a screwdriver. An absolute piece of cake. And it's not too noisy. I mean, people could complain it makes a hell of a racket, but I didn't find it too bad at all. So for the run-of-the-mill garden shredder, as opposed to a professional garden shredder, for the price I've paid, I would think it's well worth 4 stars, if not slightly more. Anyway, from the garden and a Bosch shredder, I'll see you another time. Take care. Bye-bye.